This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
How are you doing?
I am doing good, just like everyone else, in a waiting game, but also appreciative while they're in a waiting game that the Heat's not going to have their hand forced by an absolutely desperate trade partner. So I respect the waiting game. Big O, you and I speak on Acura Pembroke Pines reports every week. You're not playing another game that matters until the end of October. Don't let someone else force your hand. Don't get bluffed into giving up a single penny more than you have to.
You're not negotiating against anybody. You're negotiating against yourself, so there's no reason for it. Now, first of all, let's get to the letter from the NBA to the league and to the Heat. I got to tell you something. I found that to be all hot air. To me, the way I looked at it, this is how I interpreted all of this. Here's Portland whining and complaining. They've put themselves in this position. They had 11 years with this guy, and now this guy has control over where he wants to go, and they're pissed about that. They want to have their cake and eat it too damn bad. But anyway, they go complaining that they got no other offers and only the Heat. And so now the league puts that out there. And the league, basically what they did with that letter is, well, we covered our ass. We told them that you can't say that. And by the way, it's already been said so the message has been sent out. Everybody knows it already. Nobody's acquiring a guy for $300 million that doesn't want to be there because it's $216 plus taxes when it's all said and done. So it could be $300 million that you're paying the damn guy overall. So to me, I just found it like this was window dressing by the league to cover its ass and say, hey, we did what we could do, because the league knows in the end they can't control any of this. You really cannot control any of this. You're not going to manipulate it. This is not one of those trades that you can reverse because it was done illegally or anything like that. This is being done right in front of you as it is. So it is what it is. To me, it was the league covering itself, then telling Portland, hey, we warned everybody. Now it's up to you. Go ahead. It's your bed. Lie in it.
Yeah, you know what? I think more than anything, it's a whiny front office person who's wah, I'm not getting what I want. So the league comes out and says something. Someone went to the principal. Someone sort of snitches got out there. And so the league said, look, you created this mess. You told this guy you were going to trade him. So you went back on your word. You said before the draft you were going to trade your pick and get a better player for him for a win-now team. You've done nothing what you said. What do you want us to do? Why wouldn't this guy force his hand and want his way out there? Damian Lillard has never said anything publicly. And Big O, you know how this is. The person himself never gets involved. He lets someone talk for him.
Right.
He stayed clean on this. He hasn't given the middle finger to Portland or Portland fans. He stayed back. The agent does what any agent should do negotiating a contract. You want to make your client happy, or honestly, Big O, you won't be his agent much longer. So the agent went out and set the groundwork. But you had a very good point there when you talked about the salary and the terms. Damian Lillard's 33, is a lead ball-intensive point guard who is owed $200 million almost, and with the tax, actually, I think it's over $300 million for most of these teams, maybe repeater tax teams. So when you do the math and you say teams that need an elite point guard, you're cutting yourself in half. There's a lot of very good point guards. So let's say you're down to 15. Teams that need a point guard and are in prime contention, you cut yourself by at least a third. You're down to 10 teams. Team that blah, 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 and can also afford or are willing to take down this contract. You're maybe down to 3 teams. Teams that are willing to go as far as the Miami Heat, even with their worst offer, you're down to 1 team. So here's the deal, and I spoke to you last week on our Acura Pembroke Pines report about this. Why should the Heat give 3 first-round picks when they can only give 2? Why should the Heat let Portland decide between Jovic and Jaime Jaquez who should get the player? Why shouldn't the Heat decide that? Why should the Heat give up 3 pick swaps instead of 2 pick swaps? Now, the Blazers have every right to hold on to the player. They have every right to pollute their future of Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, and Anthony Simons and saying, hey, this guy who has never played a game in his entire NBA career off the bench, not in the regular season, not in the playoffs, is going to start. So one of you guys who think you should be a starter, who we told you after the draft we're building for the future, we're going to have to retard your growth and set it back. Yes, the difference is that Portland might get a better offer around the trade deadline. But Portland's also putting aside 3, 4, 5 months of growth of their next level of a team and setting it back. Joe Cronin's in a bad spot, and the best way to do this is you move on and you reset your team. And instead of whining to the commissioner, you let your fan base know, hey, we love Dame, but he's 33, he has $200 million due him. There's only so much of a market out there, and we're going to do right by our player and not ship him to a contender who's not necessarily where he wants to play, like in Memphis. Not that he would with John Morant or someone like that. So you know what? I don't mind the waiting game at all. I mind it as far as I hate leaving the house. I've already written a Damian Lillard traded to Miami story. In the second paragraph, it says, in exchange for Damian Lillard, the Heat traded XX, XXX, and XXX. I told my bosses, please don't publish that until I tell you who the players are. But if you're asking me today, early August, what I think, the deal's going to get done. You know what I don't know, Big O? I don't know when. I don't care when. The Heat start training camp the first week in October. If it's done by then, great. If it's not like a proven veteran can't immediately fit his way in. When you're a great player, you can arrive midseason, like a Kevin Durant or someone, or at the start of training camp and be fine. So let's all exhale. Let's all head out on vacation to the Amalfi Coast like Pat Riley. We'll be fine.
Well, training camp starts in October, not mid-September. Like,
it's actually a little later this year. It's October 2nd and 3rd, our media day. You know, based on how the calendar breaks, they push it back a little. The regular season doesn't start until late October.
The timeline has changed. I said late August, early September for this to happen. So then this is going to happen mid-September, because here's the thing. They don't want the mess, obviously, of him showing up at camp, and then that becomes a whole disaster. And you could have a Van Gundy Howard situation with your press conferences. You don't want that. Number two, you got a lot of money owed to that guy. If he goes to camp and blows out a knee and he's gone for the year, so is your trade. Because all of a sudden, Pat Riley, the next time you knock on his door, he's going to say, hey, you know what? I'll give you a first rounder for him. That's it. Thanks for calling. Appreciate you. See you later. And so you better also watch out, because you already said you're moving forward. You already have a team that has a deal on the table. Like you just said also, there aren't a lot of teams that are going to take $300 million on. There aren't a lot of teams that really should take that contract on, because you only take that contract on if you're a Damian Lillard away from a title. If you're not a Damian Lillard away from a title, it's like the Dolphins signing Ndamukong Suh. What are you doing, dumbass? You're not even close to a title, and you're spending that ridiculous money. So to me, you're the Portland Trail Blazers. You're playing with fire too, because if he gets injured in training camp, all deals are done, and you lost every bit of leverage you ever had.
I agree with that. And I think like the best other team who the Heat might be competing against, I can make a case for the New York Knicks. But Big O, you saw Jalen Brunson in that playoff series against the Heat. He's really good. He's really young. And he's half the price of Damian Lillard, and he plays the exact same position. You can say all you want. Greatness finds a way to mesh and meld together. That's all well and good. But Jalen Brunson, no offense. Well, you know what? Offense, I don't care. No offense to Julius Randle. Jalen Brunson's the best New York Knicks player. And when you have your best player at a position, you don't add someone else at that position as well, which I think knocks them out of it, even with all the Stephen A's ranting. And yes, the Knicks have more draft capital to offer than the Heat. They have a player like R.J. Barrett to offer instead of a Tyler Hero. They can put the package together. But that would be so Knicks to constantly churn. Every team desperately tries to find their new main guy. The Heat found it in 2019 with Jimmy Butler. Every Heat move since then has been, as you mentioned, to find that alpha, to find someone to augment Jimmy Butler. So they know what they want to do. The Knicks finally got something right. They got Jalen Brunson. Mark Cuban, he blew that by not giving him the contract he wanted. If you're the Knicks and you have your franchise centerpiece, you work to supplement that centerpiece, not to push him aside and replace him. So again, you know, everyone out there on the chat, if you want, call Big O later, let him know. But I just don't see another team out there where if I'm the Heat and I'm doing my due diligence, I'm saying, you know what, Andy? You know what, Pat? You know what, Mickey? You know what, Nick? These guys could make a deal. It would make sense Sacramento, again, has De'Aaron Fox is a young team coming on. They're not doing that. It's so limited, I'm not bidding against myself. That would be a fool's errand. As a matter of fact, Big O, you and I speak about this regularly, about the package they put together for Shaq. And you and I, after 2 decades, eventually came around to adding Caron Butler was the right move. I got to tell you something, Big O. If the Heat do offer 3 first-round picks, and they do send out Caleb Martin or Jaime Jaquez Jr., I like him more than Jovic, I might actually get back on here in our Acura Pembroke Pines report and tell you, I think there's a chance that he gave up too much. I think that he could possibly, unlike in the Shaq deal, in this deal, give up too much. So I will be curious to see how far the Heat are willing to go. I love great players. You give me Bam, you give me Jimmy, you give me Lillard. I'm telling you, if you're not the best team in the East, you're right up there with the Bucks and Celtics. But I also think there should be a limit in this one because you're talking 33 with $200 million nearly left on his deal.
And by the way, I agree with you on Jaquez. I want Jaquez over Jovic
So
for 2 reasons. One, I think his game is more well-rounded than Jovic. And 2, he's mature. Miami is ready to win now.
Spot on.
I need as much maturity as possible. I don't have time to, go through the growing pains of Jovic, whereas Jaquez just seems to me like a more pro-ready player at this point in time. And I think that that's what Miami needs. And I see a lot of craftiness in his game. And I think that that's very complementary to what you have with your shooters on this team and with Jimmy Butler, because I can see him and Caleb doing a lot of things that Butler does. And it's almost like I can use Caleb and Jaquez to offset when I have Butler on the bench.
Yes, you're spot on. And I spoke to someone with the Heat yesterday, and they said the same thing. Yes, there's a thought that Jovic could be very good, but 2 or 3 years out. When Jimmy Butler is 36, when your players are older there, when Lillard will be older if you make that move. Again, Jaquez was drafted as a 4-year UCLA player so he could step in and be ready now, knowing you're going to lose Vincent, unfortunately, knowing you're going to lose Strus. You need someone to come in. And I like your point you just made there. Eric Spoelstra always uses the term Swiss Army knife. Caleb Martin's a Swiss Army knife. I think Jaime Jaquez can be a Swiss Army knife. So in 2 players, you might actually fill 4 roles because they can be a 1, a 2, a 3, maybe a 4. Jaquez played the power forward at UCLA. So all of a sudden you're telling me, hey, Ira, they really thinned out the rotation. They lost Vincent. They lost Jovic. They lost Strus. They lost players in free agency. I might say, yeah, but we have guys who can fill 2 or 3 of those roles by themselves. So I agree with that also. But here's the deal where I think Joe Cronin deserves some criticism. If this deal is made at the draft, he picks who he wants at number 18, not the Heat. If he doesn't want to take on Kyle Lowry's $30 million, Max Strus could be part of a sign and trade, which he was. That fills salary instead. Gabe Vincent or Victor Oladipo as cap filler could have been part of it. So he waited past the draft. He waited past the sign and trade period. His options are not increasing. His options are dwindling. And whose fault is that? That is Joe Cronin's fault. It's hard to pull the trigger. You've switched jobs before. You're debating, is this better? Is that better? But at some point, you got to make your decision. I'm going to go here. I'm going to try this. I'm going to work at that. You also have to be definitive. Joe Cronin, I believe, is so worried about the perception that he's sort of been, analysis by paralysis, that he's almost afraid to do anything. He is going to be known, regardless of the timing, as the Portland Trail Blazer general manager who dealt a franchise icon. That's a very difficult thing to be part of, and I understand that. But it's going to happen at some point. If you're asking me, could Damian Lillard start this season?
He's afraid to rip off the Band-Aid. And unfortunately, this is just, it's a Band-Aid you have to rip and you have to move forward, dude. Unfortunately. That's it.
And you know what, Big O? And he can celebrate what he has. He can say, we have Anthony Simons, we have Shaedon Sharpe, we have Scoot Henderson, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, and very well might be. He's not in the position where he's saying, I'm trading a franchise icon. We are going to go back in the tank for 10 years now. They're not. Their future is right in front of them. Now, if he wants to totally reset their future, you and I spoke about this, and put in Yusuf Nurkic in the deal, that would be smart on his price. And if he'd have to put in Hero and Lowry and Robinson, okay, I'll do that deal if I'm the Heat. I'll find another shooter. I'll make that work. So what I think Joe Cronin has to do is look at the Heat and saying, how can I best set up my franchise? How can I maximize my gains, knowing the limitations? And how can I, as the general manager of one of the best young cores of talent in the NBA, move forward? That's what he should be selling instead of, butt dialing or speed dialing Adam Silver and going, wah, wah. Someone out there is not playing fair in the trade market. Hey, put on your big boy pants and make a deal.
Do what New Orleans and OKC have done, that you build your team and you add assets so you can continue like Danny Ainge did for a while too, where he built up assets, built up the team, and then you're already got a core in Portland. Now you're getting extra assets to build around that core.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing they've been doing in New Orleans and in OKC. They're trying to do that. That's what you should be doing now. You need to turn the page, and you're just unwilling to do it. It's just it's just a weird thing, but it'll happen. It'll happen because you're running out of time, and eventually you don't want the mess in training camp. And like I said, you can't risk injury. If you risk injury, then then the cigar really blows up in your face, and now you're really going to look like a horse's ass.
And you can't do what you did with John Wall with the Rockets and other teams and tell Dame to stay home. You can't disrespect him. Damian Lillard wants to play. He wants to get his numbers. He wants to win. This is not a guy who is so at odds with the franchise. You've seen this in all sports, Big O, where the guy says, I'll sit at home till you make a deal. No, Damian Lillard's 33. His clock is so dwindling. That's why he wants to come to a contender. He doesn't want to just collect his cash and sit out. If he just wanted to collect cash, he'd just roll with it. He'd say, I'll play off the bench. I'll do that. He doesn't want to do that. You have to serve your player right. We saw that here, Big O, with Dwayne Wade, when Mickey Harrison took control, when Pat Riley didn't get involved. It was ugly. They made up. They moved on. He came back from Chicago and Cleveland. They can avoid that now in Portland. They got to let history be their lesson.
Amen. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. What do you got going on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check it out?
I posted my Ask Ira earlier today. That's online now. Eric Spoelstra has been known for not necessarily playing rookies, one of my readers asked. And I said, you know what? He didn't play Bam, and he sat him behind Hassan Whiteside. That was a mistake. He made Tyler Hero more of a number 2 to Kendrick Nunn. People forget that. In Tyler's rookie season, Kendrick Nunn, the rookie undrafted, started. Tyler didn't. But I think Jaime Jaquez Jr., if he stays here, is going to be a play right away rookie and end that pattern. For Eric Spoelstra, because of Strus being lost and Vincent being lost. The last time that Eric Spoelstra went all in on rookies probably was Justice Winslow and Josh Richardson in that 2015 draft. I think this will be another year where this kid is so mature, he will get minutes early on, which is why, to sort of circle back to what we're saying, I want to keep him.
Yeah, but that's as he would say, that's elementary, my dear Watson.
Exactly.
You get Tyler, you get Bam. These are babies coming out of college with 1 year. You get Dwayne Wade, you get Jaime Jaquez. This is why the college basketball that we grew up with, that you're 4 years with Denny Crum, and you're 4 years with Dean Smith, and you're 4 years with Bobby Cremens, and you're 4 years with Lou Carnesecca, and you're 4 years with Boeheim. You're a different freaking player when you get to the NBA. We used to get players that were more NBA ready because we had great coaches that breeded those players for 4 years, and they were put in all those situations. Tyler and Bam wasn't. Tyler had to mature, and Bam had to mature in the NBA, not in college basketball, where James and Wade already got here as young men already at that point.
Yeah. In Kentucky, Joe B. Hall, when you played for Kentucky, you used to play 4 years. You'd come out NBA ready. Now it's different. This kid is NBA ready now. That's why the Heat drafted him. That's why the Heat said, hey, we're in win now mode. We're going to lose players in free agency. We're good to go. So I wrote about that. I think this will again be the year of the rookie. You're right. The young players, they took the Darrell Wright right out of high school. They took Precious Achiuwa 1 year out of Memphis. And everyone said, oh, we got to play the rookie. No, you've got to play to win. You can play this kid and you can play to win.
Yeah. Some of these young guys are still not there, but when you get the 4 year player, man, he should be way more mature.
And one more thing here, Big O. I'm going to talk to Josh Richardson a little later today. His career Heat number is number 0. We know another player who wears number 0. If you're the Heat, how long can you put this along? Or do you think at some point, because there's such a strong chance of Lillard coming, that Josh Richardson just goes ahead and picks another number? Or do you think you should let him wait as long as he wants for 0? I'm going to ask you this question, Big O. Who wears number 0 for the Heat this season? Damian Lillard or Josh Richardson?
I say it's Josh Richardson. I think he comes here and puts on a new number to have a new start to his whole thing. I think Josh, here's where I'm going with the conspiracy theory. You know how you had the conspiracy theory that you thought they were hiding Jaquez in the summer league, that you didn't think he was that injured, right? Which, by the way, I'm with you on this. I think they already know they're getting Damian Lillard. I think Damian Lillard already told them what number they're getting. And Josh Richardson's taking the 0 because they probably didn't even tell him. But yeah, go ahead. Don't worry about it. Take it. I bet you Damian Lillard's coming with a different number here.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say maybe not is because he played in Ogden and he's from Oakland. He's sort of like the O as his sort of home calling card. So there could be something to that. But that's going to be interesting. I check the Heat roster on NBA.com almost every morning. All the players have numbers. Josh Richardson doesn't have a number. So keep refreshing that, folks. Maybe we can get a little inside intel onto what's going to happen next.
That'll be fun. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Ira, as always, thank you. We'll catch up next week, my friend.
Catch you next week in our Acura Pembroke Pines report. Thanks, Big O.
Thank you, sir. Ira Winderman. There we go. And by the way, Acura Pembroke Pines right now, we got some great deals. The MDX 2023, $579 a month. By the way, they are the number 1 volume sales dealership in the United States. I mean, for over a decade, I was saying number 1 in the Southeast United States because they were constantly like number 2 or 3. Well, actually, they were 4. Under Larry Schlossberg, they were like number 5 or 6. Under his leadership, they went up to 4, to 3, to 2, and now 1. Okay? Larry Schlossberg is a badass. And when you go on to that dealership, you're going to be treated first class. There's a reason why people go there, and then they send their friends and their family members. They get treated the right way. The service center by Mike Chan and Jordan Ferber is second to none. There's a reason why they're constantly kicking ass. And for them to become the number 1 volume sales dealership, that is monstrous. Normally, the number 1 dealership is in Virginia, right outside D.C. Do you know why they're number 1? Because constantly they got people coming in, buying cars, and getting voted out of office. So there's so much turnover that dealership ends up getting all that business. And these guys beat them. Okay? Until, Vivek gets in there and leaves in 2 terms, and then maybe they will have more turnover again. No, but seriously, they are just kicking ass in Pembroke Pines. The TLX 2023, $369 a month. The 2024 Integra, $339. Have you seen the Integra? That thing is beautiful, brother. It is the Summer of Performance sales event going on right now at 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75. 3.9% monthly financing. Take advantage. Tell them that Big O sent you at Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines.
This is the